All right, folks, thanks for sticking with me. In this video, we're going to cover Part A and Part B, what it covers, what it does not cover. I'm also going to briefly just touch on the two options that you have available to you, one being to stay on Original Medicare and the other being to go to a Medicare Advantage program. This is what that looks like, okay? This is straight from the Choosing a Medigap policy book. You have Original Medicare here, and you have Medicare Advantage over here. They're two separate deals. You can't have both, and you don't need both, okay? But before I go into Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage, let's talk about Part A and Part B. Part A is your hospital insurance. It's going to cover your room and board in the hospital, okay? You should not have to pay a premium for Part A. But some professions, they did not take that out in taxes, so it depends. And again, that's a one-on-one discussion between yourself and me. Part B is your medical insurance. It's going to cover the doctor's expenses, okay? You do have to pay a premium for that. It's about $134 per month. Now, that is subject to change depending on your income, but most people pay $134. There is a $183 annual deductible associated with Part B. Okay, so there's a little deductible there, not bad. Now, if you stay on Original Medicare, you would pick up a Part D prescription drug plan and a Medicare supplement to pay for all the things that Part A and B do not cover, okay? If you go to Medicare Advantage, what they do is they take the $134 that you pay for Part B, they shoot it over here to these guys. You're back on private health insurance. You're dealing with HMOs and PPOs, and sometimes there's drug coverage inside of them and sometimes there's not. But before we go into Advantage, let's just talk about Part A and Part B, because I really want you to understand what that looks like if you don't own some type of supplemental insurance, okay? Part A, if you're in the hospital, if you go into the hospital, there's a $1,316 deductible. That deductible is not annual. It's every 60 days. You see this, 1 through 60? Okay, so just to kind of illustrate this, let's say you're in the hospital for a few days and you come out and for whatever reason you had to go back in on day 60. Well, you wouldn't have to pay the $1,316 again. However, if you went in on day 61, they would want another $1,316. In addition to that, days 61 through 90, they're charging you $329 per day all the way up until day 90, okay? If you're in there longer, from day 91 to 150, they double that to $658. And if you're in there longer than 150 days consecutively, technically it's all out of pocket for you at that point. So, obviously that's very catastrophic. Highly doubt that's probably going to happen to any of you, but it could, and that's the reality of it. If that was the case, you'd have to be out of the hospital for 60 consecutive days before all this would start over again, okay? So very, very expensive. Part B, I mentioned, there's a $183 annual deductible. Once you've paid that, it's 20% you'd have to pay. Medicare would pay $80. One thing to note, though, is that with Medicare, there are no out-of-pocket maximums. So what that means is if the bill's $100,000, you'd have to pay 20% of that. Okay, so very expensive. Excess charges. There are doctors that accept assignment and doctors that do not accept assignment, it's called. If the doctor accepts assignment, he's able to write off any additional cost above what Medicare has approved. If they do not accept assignment, they can bill you an additional 15% of the Medicare approved amount, okay? So it's very, very important when we're picking supplemental insurance that we're taking care of all of this stuff. And there's a lot of plans out there that quite frankly, they don't. So on the next slide, I'm going to go through different Medicare supplements. Stay tuned for me, okay?